Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the first Miami global webinar. Welcome to our Miami members, our friends around the world who are joining us today, and especially to our panelists from Italy and Spain. We are featuring Francis Fernandez Ariza from SIRA in Spain, joining us from Barcelona, and Federico Ranuzzi de Bianchi from FIAIP, the National Association in Italy, and he's in Bologna. First and foremost, we would like to extend our sorrow and solidarity for all being impacted by COVID-19 around the world, and today in particular to our to the residents of Italy and Spain. Francis and Federico represent two of our 224 partner associations around the world, and they do exceptional work to support global real estate business, to promote their members and their markets, and to collaborate with organizations like ours to do the same. So we are very honored and happy to have them here with us today. We want to hear what's going on in their markets. We want to hear about the reopening. We want to hear about the outlook. So I am going to let them present. Francis is going to present first, and then Federico. And I ask that you hold your questions until the end and that you put them in the Q&A and not in the general chat, because they get lost there. And then we will get to your questions. Thank you so much again. And Francis is going to share his screen and start off with his overview.
Thank you, Linda, to introduce me. Let me share my screen. I'm going to share with you a presentation about a survey. Okay. Let me. Okay. Hi everyone, and thank you very much to Linda and Miami Realtor for inviting me to this webinar. It's an honor for me to share with the attendees a real estate survey that SIRA organized a few weeks ago. We taken the first round, 2 rounds really. The first one was in the 14th of May, and the second one was taken 2 days ago. Then we want to follow the feeling of the real estate, the practitioners in our country, and follow their feeling about the market. I sent this presentation to Linda. If you are interested in have it, you can ask me in social media, or you can ask to Linda for them. Okay, there are more than 2,000 participants in the survey, and we thought is a good way to know the feeling about the market in the few months. Okay, if you have any question, I would like to answer in the finish of my presentation. Okay, excuse me, but the presentation is in Spanish because we finished it yesterday in the evening. Really, we present our this survey in our event, name it Emocionate. Maybe lots of you attend yesterday to our event, where Stay Binge Malta making a speech to our members. Okay, then the target is to know how the real estate agents feel the market for the next 3 months. Okay. This is the method to do the survey with two rounds. One of the rounds with 700 participants, and the other one when more than 1,000. And the level of confidence of these statistics value is the 95% in the level of confidence. Okay. Composition of the participants mainly are brokers and agents, like you can see. That their main activity is sell and rent properties, and mainly in the residential market. Okay, this is the composition of the participants in the survey. Okay, near to the 90% of the participants are CRS. We represent CRS in Spain, as you can see in my shirt, in my t-shirt, and mainly there are CRS and international realtors. And the feeling about this is the result of the survey. The feeling about the buyers, compradores, said is in Spanish is buyers. Okay, the feeling about the buyers is it has a good evolution, because when we made the first oleada in Spanish said in English is the first round in the 14th of May, that 35% of the real estate agents feel that there were a strong downfall. 35% feel that during the lockdown that in the next 2 weeks the buyers are going to downfall strongly. But in the second round, when the lockdown is finished and the office start to run, they stay more optimistic, and they thought that only the 17% of the participants thought that the buyers are going to fall down strongly. In the next 3 months, there are not as positives. They thought that mainly the half of the participants thought that the increase is a moderate increase in the number of the buyers. They thought that is not a huge increase about the number of buyers in the next 3 months. Obviously, the economy is uncertain, and there are many of them that they are postponing their decisions. In the number of vendedores, sellers, the participants thought mainly that there is a stable number of sellers, and there is not a big change between both. If you see the graphics, it is not a huge change between both rounds. Around 30% of the participants thought that there is a stable situation in the part of the sellers, and in the next 3 months they feel that there is a moderado aumento, is a moderate increase in the part of the sellers in the market. But I think that you can see that the numbers show us that both rounds the feeling is very similar. There are a little difference here, but you see there are a feeling very close in both rounds. Okay, the stock inmuebles en cartera, that means the inventory. Okay, the inventory, they thought that they feel that the inventory is going to be stable. It's not a huge change in the inventory. The 40% and the 41% in the second round. The inventory they feel is going to be stable, okay? And in the next 3 months, they think that maybe the inventory is going to rise. Why? Because maybe with the economic crisis, entrepreneurs, owners of companies, maybe they decide to make money with their properties, to invest in their business. I don't know, but the feeling is very similar in both rounds. You can see, and they think that they feel that the inventory is going to rise in the next 3 months. Okay, this is a good number, a good figure, because it's the número de personas, is the number of people that they think is going to work in their offices, and the 60, 68, and 67% in the first and in the second round, they feel that they are going to maintain the teams, to maintain the people working in the offices, and there is a small drop for the next 3 months, but it's not. If you can see that the numbers show us that there is a small, or no, it's not a small, it's a strong optimism about the maintenance of the teams. Okay. Ofertas tramitadas is the offers that buyers are making or are doing over the properties when the lockdown. Sorry, when the lockdown where obviously the real estate agents thought, and 62% in the lockdown, they thought that there is a huge downfall. But when they start and they saw that lots of buyers are waiting to make visits, are interested in know the properties, they thought only the 35% that there will be will have less ofertas in the next 2 weeks. Opposite, they are not as optimistic for the 2 weeks in the figures for 3 months. They are, you can see that when the lockdown were in Spain, they thought that the 60%, they thought that the offers could be maintained stable. But maybe now, when they saw the kind of buyers that are arriving to the offices, they thought that maybe the number of offers are going to fail, and they are not optimistic about the number of offers to receive for their properties. Okay, the number of visits for properties, número de visitas. They thought, obviously, when the lockdown, they thought that the 61% of the participants thought that the visits are going to have a strong dropping. But when they opened the market, the figure show us that there is a big activity about the visits for the properties. But in the next 3 months, when the lockdown, they thought, okay, 60% thought that there is an increase. They expect an increase in the next 3 months for new visits. But when they start the activity, they said, let's wait, because maybe the buyers are waiting for to have more clear their future in their companies, in their jobs. Okay? Closing, cierre de operaciones is closing, is sales. Okay, when they stay in the first round during the lockdown, they thought, okay, maybe it's stable, maybe it's we can maintain the 49%. Thought that there is a strong, there is a good maintenance. But when they open, they said, okay, people is waiting, people is visiting properties, but the decision to buy, they want to make in the next month. The numbers show us that they are optimistic about the increase of the closings for the next 3 months, 40%. But in the next 2 weeks, people are only taking the temperature to the market, but not making decisions about buying houses. Okay, there are 2 slides more. This is the feeling about the price of the values. Okay, the 80%, 83 and 80 in the second round, they thought that the values are going to stay stable, to maintain values in the residential properties. But they think in the next 3 months, maybe the 55 and 59%, they feel that there will be a small drop of the values in the residential market in Spain. Okay, and finally, for me, the most important, because obviously the price or the values is not in our control, but for me it's important this last figure, because it's the feeling, the general feeling about the market. In the first round, they thought that the 6.7 out of 10 is their level of optimism, okay? And in the second round, when they start the activity, this number show us a small increase, but it's an increase about the future of the market in residential real estate in Spain. Okay, thank you very much okay, thank you very much for attending me to the event, and I would like to answer if there are any questions.
We have a question from Anthony. He would like to know if there are any restrictions for Americans to buy and own in Spain. And next, like Costa Rica or Mexico, if you have property near the coast, do you never really own the land? Does Spain have laws like that? And what about renting your home once you invest in buying one?
Okay, Anthony. No, there are no restrictions. You can buy for U.S. citizens can buy houses in Spain. Obviously, there are there are controls about the origin of the funds, origin of the money, like in all of the Europe, in Italy, France, in all of the countries in the European community. But this is only the thing you have to respect, no? The origin of the funds. And there are lots of banks and mortgage companies that are financing American people that wants to have a mortgage to buy a home. There is not a problem to buy homes. Okay. The other one is the next, like Costa Rica and Mexico. If you have a property near the coast, you ever really want the land? It does Spain have laws like that? Does renting to a home? Okay, there are laws about the houses. You are asking me about the laws about the houses in the seaside, in front of the seaside. Obviously, there are laws that protect the natural environment, the natural life. But if you want to buy a house in Spain, there is a there is a very safe to buy a house in Spain, because there are laws, very clear laws, and there is very safe to buy, to maintain the property, because there are Roman when Spain was West Roma 2000 years ago, and the Roman law starts in Spain with the register. There is a public register with your property. If you buy a home, you go to the notary. You can use a real estate agent to help you, and you go to the notary, and this contract is registered in a public register, and this is yours without any doubt. And you can obviously use for yourself, or you can rent and have a good yield it depends obviously on the situation of the property.
I think he's asking, sorry to interrupt, but I think what he's asking is, in Mexico, if you're not Mexican, if you're not a Mexican citizen, you can't buy waterfront.
No. Here you can buy waterfront. You can buy waterfront, but obviously you can't construct a house. I don't remember exactly, but I think it's 50 meters from the sand of the line. They say the line, the coast, the línea de costa. Okay, you can't construct in some places. I live in Barcelona. In the north of Barcelona, there is a place named Costa Brava. It's a very nice place to visit. I would like to invite you, all of you. And there are many restrictions to construct homes now, but it depends on the area. There are areas where you can't construct anymore, but there are areas where you can make developments and make investment. Obviously, if you buy a house that is yet construct, your real estate agent in Spain can help you to buy a home that is in a regular situation and is not out of the law, and is a house without problems to enjoy it.
Right, but there's no restrictions by nationality, which is good.
No, it's not a national restriction.
It's for everybody.
No, it depends on the areas. There are restrictions in order to conserve the natural
environment and
environment. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is Spain still working with the golden visa for properties valued at 500,000 euros or above?
Yeah, there is a golden visa. I'm not a specialist in this, but I know that you can have your golden visa, but you need to invest €500,000 euros. Okay, you need to invest minimum €500,000 euros, and you can buy a home, or you can buy a home and start a commercial activity, but it's not as restrictive as the Florida or the United States. You don't need to start a business or to create jobs. No, you only need to invest and maybe buy a home and live here.
And if you have EU citizenship, can you get a mortgage in Spain? And I'm assuming this is if you don't have a credit history in Spain, but you're a citizen.
Yeah, you can have. You don't need a credit scoring in the country, because obviously you don't live. If you are a citizen and you never have a credit in Spain, you don't have your credit scoring. The Spanish banks are going to study your job, your income, and your guarantees, and if you are okay to have the mortgage. In general, it depends on the bank. In general, you have to make a down payment more or less for 40-50% of the value of the property. Okay, you have to make the down payment of the half of the value of the property.
And then there's a lot of other questions, but some of them apply to both countries, I believe, about doing business remotely. So I'm going to save some of these for the end. Are you going to stay with us, Francis? Okay.
So, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
And then give an opportunity to Federico to share his screen if he wants to, and do his presentation and overview for Italy. Federico?
Hi, Linda. You hear me?
Good.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. Thank you, Linda Fernandez, and I want to thank also Miami Association of Realtors. I'm not sharing my screen because I haven't a presentation yet. First of all, I would like to share with you some information, some data. Unfortunately, with the lockdown, of course, we had a slowdown, a sudden slowdown of the business, of the market, of our lives. We are catching up now. The lockdown was announced the 9th of March and ended the 4th of May for our category, the Realtors. We can now travel from each region to another for business purposes. And in the next week, the 3rd of June, we'll be able to travel again and to move, you know, and that will, of course, help also not only relationship, but also business relationship. I represent FIAIP. I'm the foreign representative of the most important federation of Realtors, which is FIAIP. And we are having, let's say, we pushed the government to adopt laws and initiative in order to help the real estate sector to move forward. We don't have to forget that in Italy, in the real estate sector, it's pretty important. I assume it's very similar to the Spain situation, and it represents the 20% of the GDP. So everything, it's one of the most important sector actually. What happened very recently, a few days ago, is that the government adopted a so-called super bonus, which is a tax discount of the 110%. That is a consequence if real estate owners decide to do some improvement in terms of energy efficiency and anti-seismic renovation. We are pretty sure that this is going to help all the system, because 110% tax discount, that means it's in 5 years time. It's almost, let's say, free in terms of tax balance. And another interesting opportunity is to this bonus, this credit bonus, can be used directly by the beneficiary, or it can be transferred to the supplier, let's say the contractor. What we are facing, the data we are collecting now as federation is that the clients are now looking for apartment, of course, with a higher quality, a higher energy efficiency standard, but also with terraces, with outside space, even just with the balcony, or if possible with the gardens, because of course with this period of lockdown they figured out that having a way out, let's say, or outside space, it makes let's say a difference in the quality of life. In terms of transactions, of course, I give you a few data. Just the month of March, the stillness of the market, the stillness of the sector affected, of course, the transaction. We have had, in terms of lease, of rent lease, 20,000 of contracts who were, let's say, blocked. And in terms of sales, I have to get the numbers, just a second. They were there were 65 the lease contracts, 65,000, and 25,000 the number of sales. They were, let's say, frozen for a month or two. Of course, luckily those most of those sales after the lockdown will be accomplished. But of course, that is an important data that can represent how a lockdown can affect the market. In terms of prices, we are different compared, for example, to US market. The prices of the real estate sector in Italy, they don't raise so quickly, and luckily also they don't fall, they don't drop very fast. In terms of average prices, to give you an example, the residential market we are still below 2.7% compared to the average prices in the residential market of the prices in 2010. So Italy, it's still catching up, but the number of sales is still increasing. When the market was at the top of its boom in 2009, 2008, 2009, when the crisis, bursted outside the Europe and US, we were around 900,000 of number of sales in residential market. Last year, 2019, we were a little above the 600,000. So we're still catching up in terms of number of sales, but the trend is positive. In terms of prices, as I said, they are still affordable compared to 2010. So it's a good moment to invest, either for Italians, either for investors from abroad, because as you know, as everywhere almost, the mortgage prices, the mortgage interests are affordable. So you borrow money for pretty low interest. And there are good opportunities on the market. We have some, let's say, some areas, for example, Milan, where the market has developed pretty fast and pretty well. It's our capital city. It's not our capital town, but it's the business city in Italy. It's not just the capital of fashion, but everything. It's let's say headquartered there. So the market there, due to some pretty amazing development of some big areas inside and also outside Milan, the market there have performed in a pretty amazing way. What else? Just to give you an example, the residential market is worth 96 billion euros last year, 2019. And an important data that I want to share with you, and that makes that is very similar to Spain once again, is that the 73% of the Italian families own the house they live in. Just Spain and Greece in Europe have a higher percentage. So Italians are they believe that the market, the brick market, the real estate is the best asset to invest. And if we consider, for example, what happened on the financial market in Europe, due also to COVID, of course, that we had some, hard times. So I think that real estate market, it's always a good choice. It takes, time to maybe to grow in terms of prices, but it's pretty much more reliable compared to other forms of investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federico. That was great. So I'm gonna answer, and this one's for both of you, and you may have similar answers. But one of the general overlapping questions is, how do real estate agents work in Spain or in Italy, and how do our members connect with those agents so that they can do business?
Okay, we are bilateral partners of Miami Realtors, and if some of you need to meet a real estate agent in Spain, you can ask Linda or ask to me and said, okay, I need a real estate agent to help my customer to buy a house, to buy everything in real estate, and we can connect with you. We have a website with our members. Is CRS, like the designation, CRS Spain. .es, and you can find there our members. But if you want to talk with us, we are open to help you. we have in Facebook a huge group of CRS Spain and Spanish international realtors, and you can ask to stay in this group. And if you need a colleague in Cádiz, in Madrid, you can ask there, and I'm sure that there are many of them that are going to offer their collaboration. And obviously, if you want to have, and the best approach is to visit our country, obviously.
Federico, anything to add?
Yes. Well, I represent FIAIP, so it's the biggest federation in Italy. We have roots and connection all over the country. We have representatives everywhere. So if any NAR member or Miami Realtor member would like to get in touch with some colleagues that deals with a particular area, a particular region of our country, can get in touch through us, and we can put him in touch with the proper agent of the FIAIP representative of that region. So he can pick up the one to suggest in order to help him out. For example, with US investors or US citizens, quite often it happens that they have far relatives in Italy, or maybe they inherited some asset and they have never been there, so they don't even know where it is located, and they want some help in order to manage this property, either to refurbish it, either to sell it, and we are here to help.
Excellent. I would also, the only thing I would add is that we do, and I know now travel is restricted, but Francis hosts an excellent event. Francis, SIRA UCI and SIRA Spain, Emocionate is an excellent event if you want to connect with Spanish agents. He also brings Spanish agents to Miami and to Florida every few years when celebration is in Orlando. And now that we're not able to attend some of these events, or that they've been canceled or postponed, he's hosting Emocionate en Casa, and I'm sure you're welcome to join if you'd like to participate. We've promoted some of those events, and we invite Federico to also share with us webinars and events and any opportunities that our members can participate in. They also go, oops, sorry, my cat got in the way.
Yeah, you can. We know, we met your cat a few weeks ago.
Anyway, so there's, and when things are normal, NAR, you both, Francis and Federico, always attend NAR, and their members also participate, so it's a great way to make those connections. And in the meantime, we have Zoom and webinars to do that. So
I remember I met Federico in New York. You remember, Federico, you were in the New York at
the Marriott Marquis, yeah.
And the Marriott Marquis, yeah, we met there. Yeah, it's
Last November.
Yeah, past November. Wow, long time ago.
On the way to San Francisco.
Yeah, on the way to San Francisco. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's important to attend this kind of events, the NIR convention. You know, if you are CRS or CIPS, there are special conventions for this part of the realtors. We hold, as Linda said, Emocionate in Spain is our event, yearly event. The next one is on June the next year, obviously, because this year we cancel it and we have to cancel our event. And I would like to invite you, all of you, to share a week with the real estate agency in Spain. The same for you, Federico. Would be a pleasure.
Thank you.
Excellent. Some general questions also about, in Florida, we can do closings and notarized documents remotely or electronically. They're asking, can you do the same in Italy and Spain? Are you able to close transactions and use virtual tools or remote tools?
Federico?
Okay. We can sign contract, of course, but we cannot. Yeah, we cannot. Since we have the notary, which is a sort of lawyer, you probably know it. Although you don't use the notary, this public office figure, which for the real estate transaction, real estate sales, he has to sign the deed, the contract, the final one. In that case, people don't have to be there in presence. Maybe they can have a proxy, somebody can sign on their behalf, but we still have to be there, at least a representative, somebody using a proxy. So we are still on the way of the digitalization, but of course this involves laws and change of perspective that has to be done by the government, by the parliament. We still, of course, can sign the contract in terms of lease, rent contract, but the final act that transfers the property of a real estate asset has to be done by meeting a notary in person.
In Spain, is the same. You can sign the private contract and to reserve or to make an agreement between owners and buyers, but finally, there you need to sign in front of a notary that is a public employee that make the contract, the final contract that you need to register. If you want to register your contract and to have the highest safety about your contract, you need to sign in front of a notary. But you can make a, I don't know, how do you say, a poder? You can
A power of attorney.
A power attorney. Okay, you can visit the property, and you can send a power attorney made in a consulate. You can go to the Spanish consulate, and you can make a power attorney, and then he represents you in the signature. But for the final signature, you need to have or to make a public power to an attorney, sí, un abogado or a real estate agent or with you want. Okay.
Perfect. For those of you who are asking about connecting with Francis and Federico, I can share their contact, their email address when we share their the PowerPoint.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you have my contact and my cell phone. Is a pleasure to help everyone.
Yeah, and there is, you already answered about the deposit, so this might have come in before. Someone asks, and it would be good to know, how does the real estate transaction work in Spain? Are there two agents? Is there, you know, how does the listing work? Just a, you know, quick brief. I know it's hard, but how does it work in comparison to the US?
Okay, in comparison with the US, there are two kinds of real estate agents. We represent, SIRA is the representative of NIR in Spain. Then our members works very close to the United States real estate agents. But mainly in Spain, real estate agents are not representatives of the owner or of the seller. They are more intermediary, okay? They are looking for an agreement between the owner and the buyer. Why? Because there is the MLS is not an organization very known. There are lots of MLS, maybe 60, 70 MLS in Spain, but not all of the real estate agents works in a MLS in their area. Lots of them work alone, having listings and doing good business for the owners. It's not a bad situation, but it's different in this case. There is not there is not the tradition to have a real estate agent that represent one of the parts. We are working in this way. We are making this this idea and to spreading this idea in the market. And we have more than 1,700 members now, CRS and realtors, and they work very close to the real estate agents in Spain. But the other part of the market mainly work in the intermediation, not in the representation.
Federico, they are asking if there's an MLS in Italy.
Well, let's say we have a similar situation in Italy. The figure of a real estate agent, there's no different, to start with, differences between US system compared to the Italian one. We don't have the distinction between brokers and real estate agent. Real estate agent does whatever the broker is allowed to do. So once you are, you pass the examination, you have attended the course, you have an insurance policy, which is mandatory, you have your own position in terms of taxes and everything, unless you are, for example, working for a company, you are an employee. So it's very, not difficult, but it's regulated by law, the profession of real estate agents in Italy. So they're also responsible for that. So they stand in front of the notary when the transaction is signed, and they also are, let's say, their name is on the final act, on the final transaction. So everything it's public. After that, to make distinctions between the US system and the Italian system, also the Italian real estate agent works for both parts, because we are a third part. We don't work just for one side, but we try, you know, to bring the two sides together and to bring the final agreement, which is the target of our job. In some cases, for example, those real estate agents work just for the developers. They work on a specific mandate, specific on behalf of the developer. In this case, they cannot, of course, ask for the fee to the purchaser, to the buyers. We have to specify that because, you know, when I travel, I meet colleagues from other countries. They say, okay, you get paid twice. No, the percentage, the fee, it's split between the two sides. So let's say, for example, in UK, they get 6% as the fee. In Italy, the average is the 3% on both sides. So it doesn't make any difference in terms of economic aspect, economic fees. It's just a way of behaving, let's say.
Okay, there are questions.
I'm sorry, Linda. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
To interrupt, but to answer the question of Linda, we have MLS, but to be honest, it's a tool we are developing as federation, because we want, you know, to improve and to boost the cooperation between agents. But we still have to improve compared to US system, okay? And we have developed, this is important to recall, to underline, as FIAIP just last year, a procedure to cooperate, which is called Una FIAIP, which has been approved by a third-party company. And it's a very transparent and safe, let's say, procedure that in order to apply this procedure, you have to follow a course of our federation. And If you do that, you can upload on our MLS or your asset or your listings, and the colleague they want to cooperate with you has to respect the same procedure and to have the same skills. Let's say it's a sort of designation in order to give you an example. And we are trying to raise our standards. You know, FIAIP, the last P of our name stands for professional. We are focusing on being more and more professional in order to give always the better service to our clients. Thank you.
Perfect. Now, there are two questions I would like to answer. One is, let me see, Elias Bichachi, I'm sorry by the pronunciation. How can be a real estate agent in Spain? Now in Spain, you can be a real estate agent only to open your business. You don't need a license like in the United States. You can open your business, you register your business in the city, you rent an office, and you can start your business. In three parts of Spain, you know, Spain is divided in 17 autonomies or communities, regions, okay? In the region where I live, in Catalonia, in the north of Spain, next to France, here you need to stay registered in a official office, okay? You need to study 200 hours, and you need to go to the register. But it's not the same like in the United States. I am the broker, I am going to register my business, and I can have 200 agents, but they don't need to stay registered, okay? Only the broker need to stay registered in this part of Spain. In Madrid is the same, and in the south, in Andalusia, you know, Sevilla, Malaga is the same too. But in the other parts of Spain, for now, is not, you don't need to have a license or to have a register. But I insist, it's only for the broker. The commercial or the agents, you can have as much as you want, and they don't need a license, okay? Is the same in Italy?
It's different because in Italy we don't have the distinction between brokers and real estate agent. As a real estate agent, you have to register the Chamber of Commerce. I was saying before that you have to have an insurance policy, which is mandatory. So you have to follow these rules in order to operate. And you are liable if you make mistakes. So the real estate profession is, yeah, it's something, it's a serious path to get there. And I would like to answer some questions that I see on the Q&A. Is there a real estate event in Italy this year? Honestly, you know, all the fairs and events have been, let's say, either postponed next year or rescheduled. To be honest, now I don't know any real estate events scheduled for the fall or the end of the year. To answer another question regarding the splitting of the commission, yeah, we do referrals. We cooperate, of course, with other realtors, other real estate agents, either in Italy or abroad. We are happy to do that, and of course we split, we share the commission. That's normal. It's important, of course, to sign an agreement or to discuss it at the beginning. That's my suggestion with in any situation.
The same in Spain. Jorge R asked about the ocupas. I think it's for me, because you know the newspapers always are selling the bad news, only bad news. In Barcelona, where I live, in the center of the town, in some areas, like Gracia, or in areas all in the old town of Barcelona, there are many ocupas, but it's not a general problem. People it's very typical in Spain for medium class people or high class people to have a second home in the seaside or in the mountains in the Pyrenees, to go skiing or to go to the beach in the seaside, and nobody is thinking that there are ocupas that can occupy my property, but obviously there are some ocupas. Mainly ocupas attack bank properties. I don't know if the US is the same, but mainly ocupas are occupying properties owned by banks, no particular, not for the citizen properties. I don't know if Linda is the same in United States or.
Yeah, generally they were either vacant, but we really saw that problem during the downturn. And we did address that as an association, our government affairs department, and we worked with the police because there was an issue of whether it was considered a civil matter and whether you were supposed to just report it to the police, and we got that resolved. So now you don't hear as much about squatters as we used to.
Okay, yeah, ocupas are squatters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would like to ask some question. How is the commercial selling experience? Our office is selling. That's a good question. Retail offices. I think that offices, let's say, will be rethink. Because with the remote job or the because the so-called smart working. Probably in the future, we won't need big offices. People will be allowed, employees to work from home at least a few days a week. So I think there will be a downsizing of big companies in order to reduce costs and, to face this new era of the remote work from home. So that would be interesting. I'm sure that if one sector will be, let's say, a little affected, will be the one of the offices in the future, in the near future.
Okay, there is a question for me, Linda. I am waiting. I am answering my question. If you have,
I saw that. You're doing a great job.
Okay, Gladys Martinelli said, to clarify, if I am a buyer not living in Spain, I can buy a property if I have a person in Spain representing myself with a power of attorney, right? Yeah, is okay. If you have you don't need to have an attorney. You can make a power to me. I'm not attorney, but you said, okay, Francis is my friend, is my family. And I can have a power and I can represent you in the operation for buying and for selling, to open a bank account, for everything. It depends on the power you are making. You can make a power only for buying the house, only for rent the house, only for sell the house. You can specify what is the power that you are attributing to the person. Okay.
Can I reply if you answer a few questions?
We need to wrap up, I think. Letty, how are we? I know we're a little over on time, but can we keep going?
Sorry. Yeah, we can go for another 10 minutes.
All right, perfect. Go ahead, Federico.
Okay, just a couple of questions. One from Rosa Lavarile. Real estate firm registered in the Chamber of Commerce, Camera di Commercio, are public record? If so, it's by region or there is a main site? Well, yeah, you have to be registered in the local Chamber of Commerce, but we are pushing, let's say, urging the government in order to put all this data together. So let's say you can make a query from US, from anywhere and check if the real estate agent you are dealing with is it's registered, it's an official real estate agent. That's our, of course, target. Unfortunately, at the moment, they don't talk to each other altogether. And another, that's a bureaucracy who is ruling us. What about short-time rentals if I buy a property in Spain or Italy? For Italy, I can answer that we have been facing a booming of this sector, booming. Airbnb, the most famous platform, raised, tremendously. For example, my city, which is a medium-sized city, not as big as Barcelona in Spain or Milan in Italy, we are about 500,000 citizens. We faced a sudden increase of short-term apartments on this platform, and last year there were like 5,000 just in our city. And because, of course, in Italy we have a tremendous amount of tourism, and they love to stay in this kind of houses instead of maybe a standard hotel. Sometimes it's more convenient and it's more charming in order to live, the Italian lifestyle. And for the landlords, it's more convenient because it's more profitable. The yield you get, it's higher than the standard rent. Of course, now with the lockdown and the forbidden flights, you're not able to fly, for the past few months, those landlords, of course, are not so happy, but I think that from the next week, the situation will slightly go back to normal, to the standard.
The short-term rental situations in Barcelona, Madrid, Sevilla, in the main cities in Spain is similar to Italy, because Italy or New York or Miami now is a bad business in short in the next few months. But obviously we have the confidence that the people are going to restart visiting us and traveling, and like Federico said, lots of families prefer to stay in their own apartment than in a hotel, because they can cook, and it's cheaper for families. But it's a good investment, but in the next few months, maybe it's not the best one, but the life is going to continue. So this COVID is going to change in short term some activities, but I have the confidence that life is going to continue similar that we know that was in 3 months ago. Then there are another question, Linda. No, you can choose.
A general question. And I think it's great what you're saying. And just for our members and for anyone listening, if you haven't seen the statistics, our market is already showing great signs of recovery. Pending sales have dramatically increased in the last few weeks. And so I agree that life will go on, and long-term, I think investment in all of our markets is a great investment. But one of the questions that they're asking, Italy and Spain are both top countries for buyers in Miami and South Florida. They want to know, what do you think about the interest in buying for Spaniards and Italians buying in Miami and Florida, since the dollar is strong?
For Spanish people, Florida, Texas, and New York. I'm sure that are the 3 areas that Spanish people prefer to buy a home. There are lots of flights from Madrid, Barcelona, Malaga to Miami, to New York, to Houston, and I'm sure that are the areas that Spanish people prefer. Maybe the European people in general prefer to buy inside Europe for second homes or for enjoy holidays. No? Maybe Italian people prefer to buy in Sardinia, in in Mallorca, in the seaside of Spain, that to fly 10 hours to Florida.
Not true, not completely true.
Not completely true. No, Linda present us the figures about the investment of the Spanish, but this is for investment developments are a strong trend from Spanish investors investing in lots of areas in Florida, in New York, and in Texas. But for families, it's not common, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, for Italian investors, I mean, Italians are crazy about bricks, about real estate in general. They like to invest, not only, Francis, not only in Italy. Of course, we are strong investors in Italy, but we also like to go abroad. Believe me or not, Italians invest a lot in big cities, capital cities in Europe, like Paris, London, but also abroad. For example, in US, they like, of course, New York City, but of course, you know, prices now, you know, reached skyrocket. So it's the entry level. It's quite high, you know, compared, for example, with some solutions in Florida. For example, we have clients, even from my city, but in general, Italians, they love Miami, but also Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and they like also to fly and to spend time in their own apartment, in their own property, and to rent it out for the rest of the year. Of course, now, as Linda was saying before, the dollar is quite strong, and so this is sort of a break, you know, that slows down the willing to invest in US. But it's a strong country, it's a strong market, it's a safe market as well. So that's why people prefer to invest either in Europe or either in US.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, there is a question, I don't remember where it is. Is Mallorca a good place to invest? Obviously, it depends on the prices. But Mallorca is a very good, it's a very nice island with where rich people from Germany, from UK, from Spain too, wants to go for holidays. Then, in my opinion, is a good place to invest. Mallorca, but it depends on the price or it depends on the property. But in general, I think Mallorca, Ibiza, Formentera, Menorca, all of the Balearic Island are very interesting places to invest, in my opinion.
And beautiful.
Yeah, I can confirm it. I can confirm it. I love to travel, and then Formentera, Ibiza, they are wonderful places.
Yeah, there are a lot of Italian people investing in Formentera, in Ibiza. Yeah,
Italians are investing everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Francis, don't forget to remind to our audience that Ibiza and Formentera, compared to other places, lovely places in Spain, they are quite you know, for high-end investors, because the entry level there it's quite high.
Quite high, yeah.
There are lovely properties, but Ibiza especially, but also Formentera. To answer a question, if buying Sicily or Sardinia is a good investment, wow, of course it's a good investment. I mean, Sicily and Sardinia, they are lovely islands, big islands. And I suggest you to visit those places, and you will fall in love with them. Probably you know Sardinia because of Porto Cervo, Porto Rotondo, these high net worth individual places, you know, but they are not just for those people. And you can travel around, you find amazing places. that are yet to be discovered to the majority of people, and they are very affordable too. Also the inland, you know, the inside places, there are lovely villages, maybe half an hour from the seaside, and it's really the countryside. It's also lovely, both in Sicily and Sardinia. I mean, Italy, like Spain, it's a place where you can find the mountains, the countryside, the seaside, whatever you're looking for. The landscape, the food, the language, the accent changes just 50 kilometers away, and it's a completely different scenario. You just have to come and discover it. Then it's up to you, you know.
Yeah, both countries are a museum in the street, no? Because Italian, if you visit Bologna, Florencia, even Milan, that people said, oh, Milan is not pretty, is not nice. I like Milan and the surroundings of Milan, the Lago di Como, the Dolomite is a very nice place to visit. I think you must too. You can visit us the next Emocionate, and then make a tour visiting Paris, London, Rome, and Bologna. Obviously, it's a good plan.
Yeah, good idea.
I remember as a child when I was born in Spain and would spend my summers there because my father kept an office in Madrid, and we would always do Madrid, Barcelona, south of France, and we'd end up in Milan. So I've spent a lot of time in that area, and they're beautiful. Questions about, there's a question in Italian, Federico. I don't know if you answered this one, but they're asking for you to compare the north versus the market versus north versus south in Italy. Are there differences?
Well, differences between the north and south of Italy in terms of market. Yeah, in general terms, in the north of Italy, the average prices are higher. If we consider, for example, Milan, Turin, Genova, Bologna, these big cities, you know, the average per square meter, the prices it's higher. For example, Francis was referring to the Lake of Como, which is very important sightseeing, but also holiday places. You know, there are amazing places, amazing villas, but over there the prices, of course, are pretty high compared to other places. In the south, there are amazing places, pretty well known, and also that are top location for tourism. We can talk about Positano, Capri. We can talk about Taormina in Sicily. We can talk about Puglia, for example, which has been developing in the past years, has been discovered also by foreign tourism. And there you can find amazing places with also top-end solution, of course, with top-end prices. I'm talking about villas, renovated ancient palazzos, or seaside places. So it's difficult to say the south of Italy is more affordable compared to the north. If we make an average, of course, probably yes. The answer is yes. But you can find nice solution once you focus on what is your wish list. Like, I want to a seaside solution, a countryside solution, or I prefer to stay in a historical city center, maybe in a small village by the sea or close to the sea. Probably is more convenient, is more affordable than having a villa by the sea.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know, I don't remember. He's asking me a person that is Barcelona a good place to invest? Obviously, is a good place. Why? Because Barcelona is one of the most visited cities in the world. If I don't remember exactly, but the first one is New York, the second one is Paris, and the third one is Barcelona, next to Rome, Madrid, but the third one is Barcelona. And now lots of technological companies are moving to Barcelona, moving their headquarters to Barcelona. And lots of executives or owners of companies that live in the north of Europe are moving to Barcelona because there are good international schools. There are good places to live with seaside. We have the Pyrenees in 1 hour and a half. You can ski. In 10 minutes, you can have it's similar to Milan. You can have the seaside. In this case, we have beaches. We have the seaside in the city, and this is the reason why lots of companies are moving to Barcelona, and not only Barcelona city, in the big Barcelona, all the area in the Mediterranean seaside. And for me, is a good place to invest. Even Madrid is the main city in Spain, and there are very nice developments and good places to do business too. And there are two. Valencia is a very nice place to live and to invest too. And in the south, Sevilla and Malaga. But the main city is Madrid and Barcelona.
So there's still a lot of questions. There's a lot of interest. I think we could go on forever. We'll probably have to invite you back. But in the interest of time, and I know Francis has to head to Chile now.
Yeah.
So,
I have a meeting with Chile in 9 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna end the seminar, but again, we are gonna share the PowerPoint that Francis presented, and we're going to share the contact information and the recording with you all. And then you can contact them directly for any specific questions about properties and investing. Thank you both so much for being with us. We wish you the best of luck in your market recovery in your beautiful countries with beautiful people. And, Miami and our members love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Francis.
We love your members and you, Miami.
I love you
Bye,
too.
Federico. See you in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We hope.
Take care.
Bye.
Francis.
Bye, Linda. Adiós, Linda.
Bye, Linda. Thank you.
Un beso. Cuidaros todos mucho. Adiós.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.